Hello, Mel.
Hi, hello.
So, me before you address this kind of a heavy subject, did you hesitate before accepting the part?
I didn't really. I didn't hesitate because the story that's at the heart of it is so compelling and so beautiful and so rich in so many ways. And Lou was she's such an effervescent kind of just had so much energy and so much joy that I felt like I got her energy. I felt like the wavelength she was on. I was like, I understand that, and I just wanted to have a go at playing her.
We rarely see you as a cheerful and perky character. Do you feel more comfortable with that?
It's a funny thing because yes, I feel definitely it's much easier to be Lou. It's much more kind of, for me, it's very fluid. There were a load of stuff that Thea kept in that I didn't realise the camera was on, kind of thing, and it just sort of happened. But then I love to push myself quite a lot. So Game of Thrones, I feel, is kind of another. The other roles, I love them all. Is the easy answer. There we go.
Okay.
Just cut that short.
Right. So Lou has her favorite, bee tights in the movie. Did you have a favorite item of clothing when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, yeah, I got given this one dress for Christmas that was like this blue velvet princessy, with the big satin bow and but it had bells in it. So I used to make a noise, and I like making a noise, so I used to make a noise everywhere I went, and that was kind of amazing.
So the chemistry with Sam Claflin is, you cannot notice it.
Yes.
How was it to shoot with him?
It was so lovely. It was so easy. It was so kind of... We just got on really, really well. We've known each other for about 6 years, so it was just so the whole thing just flowed, and it allowed, when you've got someone who you really get on with and you're having to do these really kind of deeply emotional scenes together, when you've got trust, then you can do whatever. You're free as an actor to kind of, to give the best performance. And so hopefully we allowed ourselves to do that.
Oh, sure, yeah, sure. If you could be in a romantical comedy or remake, which part would you play?
Oh, man. See, I love too many of them that I would never want to remake them, like Sleepless in Seattle, or Pretty Woman, or You've Got Mail, or what's another favourite? When Harry Met Sally, my number one favourite.
Meg Ryan.
Someone was like, would you want to be Meg Ryan? I'm like, no, because no one can be Meg Ryan apart from Meg Ryan.
Obviously.
Yes.
So it would be criminal not to mention Game of Thrones, I guess. If Lou was in Game of Thrones, in which house would she be?
I mean, I want to say Targaryen because we could chain. We could badass her up.
That's right.
We could do that, but realistically, she'd probably be like a Stark or something. Boring like that,
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Jojo.
Hi.
Why did you want to address such a sensitive subject in your book, Maybe For You?
I think you don't pick the subjects, they almost pick you. For me as a writer, I love to explore issues that might be a little grittier than the average writer of love stories. I'm not afraid of marrying issues with commercial women's fiction. I heard a story on the news about a young man who had been left paralysed after a sporting accident, who several years on had persuaded his parents to take him to a centre to end his life. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand why his parents would agree to it. And the more I read up about this family, the more I realised that they were in an extraordinary and difficult position. And I started to try and imagine what it would be like to be in his shoes, what it would be like to be in his mother's shoes. And then perhaps the writer bit of me took over and I was asking, what would it be like to try and change his mind? So it was really just a look at one person's choice and what happens if you have someone who is so uncompromising and so willful that you think you can't alter their way of thinking.
And what was your reaction when someone approached you that they wanted to adapt your book?
Well, I was really excited. I mean, I've had a lot of books optioned over the years, but there was something different about this. The energy that came from the studio, the determination to get things done quickly. I just felt that, maybe this one would actually happen. And then it just gained momentum. And then they asked me to write the screenplay, which was fairly extraordinary. And I loved it. I've just loved being part of it. I've loved it so much I've gone on to do 2 others.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
1+1 is with Warner Brothers, and then I've done one more as well, so we'll see.
But is it not too hard, to let it go of your work, like your baby?
Well, in the case of Me Before You, that book more than any other book is my baby, but I was lucky because they consulted me the whole way. I never felt like I was handing the baby over. I felt like we all had joint custody.
And how did you choose the cuts? Because, you know, Will's sister is not in the movie.
Yeah.
And how did you choose the cuts?
I think, you know, the problem is with adapting a book to a film, especially a book of 130,000 words, is that you have to lose some stuff because otherwise your film would be 6 hours long and people would be falling asleep. Thea and I worked for months just trying to work out what was essential to the plot and what we could afford to lose. And you know, it's difficult decisions, but we felt that the most important thing here was the love story between Louisa and Will and maintaining that balance between their humour and the love and the tragedy, and everything else around that could be pared down, but they were the two key elements in the story.
In your opinion, what's the strength of this adaptation compared to the book?
I think it's as close to the book as we could get it. I think when you make a movie and you have actors of the caliber that we have, they bring something completely new to the there are lines that I wrote in the book that when they are delivered are much better than what I wrote because the actors take them and they run with them. And that's the most exciting thing about being involved in an adaptation is when they bring a whole new element to it. That was the fun bit.
And was it important to you to write the sequel?
Yeah, I mean, again, you can only write the story that's at the front of your head. And I think the strange thing about working on the script and talking incessantly to fans who want to know what was going on with the movie and what happened to Louisa is that the characters never left me in the way that other characters have left me. And so it was easy for me to just ask myself the question, well, what would she have done next? And I had to write it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Thea.
Hello.
The first question is pretty classic. How did you come across Me Before You?
I was sent the screenplay. So I hadn't read the book. I had no idea what the story was going to be. So I read it completely, with a very innocent eye for the first time. And I loved it. It made me laugh out loud. It made me cry. And I had a big fat smile on my face at the end. And I just fell in love with it and wanted very much to bring it to the screen.
Did the subject of changing the ending ever been brought up for the movie?
Only in that, we enough to acknowledge that none of us wanted to change it. So it was very, very clear right from the start that Jojo didn't want to, I didn't want to, the studio, crucially, never wanted to. So it was never a contentious issue at all.
You could have fallen into a really melodramatic drama. How did you prevent that, just to keep the light tone?
Well, exactly that. It was really important to me. I could see that would be a very easy way to go with it, or to get a kind of slightly inauthentic, kind of slightly naff way of telling the story. You know, Jojo and I tried from very early on to get the balance between the humour and the sadness, but essentially to keep it authentic and to keep the characters grounded and real. And to keep all of the characters, so, making sure that how we cast, for example, all the supporting characters, if you're lucky enough to get the caliber of actors that we got, it just grounds the whole thing in reality, and that is what ultimately I think is going to stop it from tipping over into melodrama.
Were Emily and Sam your first choices?
Yes.
For the leads?
As soon as I'd seen them together, they were absolutely the first choice. In fact, they were everybody's first choice. As soon as they'd seen the tape together, their chemistry together was amazing, and there was just an extraordinary magic that was completely evident right from the beginning. So we were all in agreement, which again is a huge relief. So the studio were very, very supportive of my choice.
As a director, what is your process to lead your actors?
Well, I've worked a lot in theatre where the most important part of the process with the actors is the rehearsal process. And in film, there is often very little, if none. So that was one of the things that I brought to it. I wanted very much to make sure that we had rehearsal time together. So in prep, we had that, the three of us in particular, and I also had it with almost all of the supporting cast as well. And it made a huge difference. So it meant that when we came on set, particularly with Sam and Amelia, we'd spent so much time together, very carefully charting each scene and where each scene came within the arc of their story, that we had such a shorthand, we were so familiar, they knew exactly what I wanted from each of them within each scene, that they felt very free, I think, to really go for it.
If the audience were to remember one thing about your movie, what would you like it to be?
The main message of the movie is to live boldly. We only get one life, and it's our responsibility to live it as fully as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alors en fait là je suis dans le quartier de Méfer, ce qui correspond à peu près à rue de la Paix au Monopoly parce que c'est la même couleur, vous voyez, donc c'est vachement chic, c'est assez résidentiel, etc. Et donc je me dirige vers l'avant-première, je suis un peu curieuse de voir comment ça va se passer, il paraît que l'organisation est pas mal mais je sais pas du tout comment ça se passe. Ah oui, il y a des travaux aussi, donc ça gâche un petit peu l'effet. Donc ouais, ça va être pas mal et tout, je sais pas s'il y a encore du monde, je suis à l'heure aussi, donc c'est bon signe, on va voir pour la suite. Est-ce que je peux te dire à quel point quand même les Anglais sont hyper organisés? Il y a genre un espace pour les handicapés et chacun a un bracelet en fait pour accéder à l'avant-première, du genre je suis venue, j'ai fait la queue et j'y accède. Et on est en espace presse là et genre on doit être 7 ou 8 j'irais, donc franchement c'est assez cool, c'est vachement bien fait. So how did you find the story of Me Before You?
Superb, and actually I'm a grown man and I actually cried probably about 3 times during the course of the book. I've not seen the film yet, so I imagine I'll probably need to cry a lot more.
And how is it to work with, Emilia Clarke?
Who?
Emilia Clarke, well, someone, have you
Do you
heard
know
of
what?
Game of Thrones?
What is Game of Thrones?
I don't know.
Do you know what? She was amazing. She was, I worked with her for one day and she was the funniest, most charismatic woman I've ever worked with. Like, we had such a laugh on set. We had jokes. Every time the camera stopped rolling, we had a laugh, and she was... I love her. I want to marry her.
I get in line, I think.
Oh, what? I'm first in line, surely.
Thank you very much. And so,
Yes.
what would you remember as a lesson of life from this movie?
The lesson of life, well, actually, I think in general, would be to live boldly, obviously, but also to follow your dreams and to never ever give up. And that stands for any job that you're doing. I think always follow your passion, always follow your dreams.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And so we really were keen on providing a bedrock for a really good human being, because Lou Clarke is ultimately, she's a really good person, and although the Clarke family have their pressures, I think we just wanted to show that she'd come from a very loving family and was somebody that knew how to love, so that was important to us.
Actually, she's the most judgmental character, maybe.
Yeah, she probably is. Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's important to have that voice in there. My personal view is that every individual should be able to make up their own mind, and that's the most important outcome of that, yeah.
Is that the life lesson you learn from this story?
I think so. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and I think that's a really good lesson. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Have you seen the movie yet?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Hello! How are you doing?
I'm good, France, mademoiselle.
Exactly.
Bonjour.
So, have you seen your movie yet? Like the full with the audience and the laugh?
Oh yes,
and the
lady.
cry?
Oh yes, I have. I've seen it.
What was the feedback?
The feedback was great. People laughed a lot. People cried a lot, which is pretty special.
And how was your first experience?
It was fantastic. I loved every minute of it.
The most challenging part?
Casting the right people in the 2 leads.
And how was the chemistry between them at the
Amazing.
audition?
At the audition, it was there right from the off, and it suddenly made a very difficult process very easy.
Salut les gens, alors pour ma première chronique série, je vais vous parler de Jane the Virgin. C'est une série de la CW, elle a 2 saisons actuellement. La première a été diffusée sur